What's going on, everybody? It's Edward Andrade again with the drill pad. Everybody, I got a bunch of stuff for you today, so let's all fall in and let's get this thing going. Before we can start cracking down about championships and trophies and accomplishments, let's get to where it all started. Every driller has a beginning. Most didn't join because they knew it changed their lives. They joined because maybe a friend asked them, they saw a performance somewhere, or they simply wanted to try something new. But somewhere along the way, drill became something more than a practice after school. It became a source of discipline, confidence, leadership, and purpose. For me, I know growing up, I played a lot of sports. My dad wanted the ideal athletic kid. My dad grew up as an amateur boxer. He was a football star. He had his firstborn son, and he was like, "Oh, Suenya, how did he set about put me on top of a cliff, holding me over a bunch of lions and stuff, and just hoping I would be this natural born athlete." And unfortunately, I was everything but. I mean, growing up, I did still play baseball. I still play basketball. Was I good at it? Not so much, but it started getting me into that athleticism that I needed to in my life. Because, I mean, any good parent, I mean, including myself, I'm not going to have my boys just sit down and play on their games all day. And, ROTC really in the picture. I mean, to me, it was kind of an unknown. I don't really have any real military affiliation in my immediate family. I'm probably that only one. I do have some uncles that served in Vietnam. My grandfather served in World War II in the Navy. And I think the most I ever experienced in ROTC from my young years before high school, I think the most I ever saw of it was probably Cadet Kelly. And I'm sure there may be a lot of you too that's probably seen the exact same one that I'm talking about. So it was all new, and I never knew what this thing was. And starting in high school, I stuck with baseball. I was in band. I wasn't in a marching band. I was just a normal band. I played the clarinet in middle school. Once I got to high school, I would think I'm all machismo, and I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of playing this little clarinet. And the band director was like, "Hey, we have a lot of clarinets." He's like, "How about you play the bass clarinet?" I'm like, "Yeah, freaking, I'll play that manly thing," which was just a bigger clarinet. Uh, and baseball, I did it because, like I said, it was something that I was familiar with. It was something that I was comfortable with. Now, like I said, was I any good? In no way, shape, or form. I was never a quote unquote true athlete. I was, I was the nice kid. I was the guy where they're like, "Aw, Ed, that's cute. Go make sure the bags are up off the ground." And I'd either play DH, I'd play designated hitter, or I played the outfield where there was almost no action. And if a ball did come my way, I was actually able to catch it and toss it infield. My experiences around ROTC almost never existed. And I did do ROTC as well. I had no idea what it was. So I joined this because my older sister, she went to high school obviously before me, and I was telling her all my options. I remember I was sitting down at the dinner table, just looking over like, okay, well, what can I do? And I was talking to my mom, I had my dad, and we were all discussing it. And she already knew I had this kind of idea already transitioning into high school that the military was kind of going to be a route. I mean, playing on the PlayStation 2, everybody loved Call of Duty before online was ever a thing. And I remember just really being into that back in the day. And my older sister told me, "Hey, look, like there's this thing, maybe you ought to try that." And, I was like, "Hey, what's the worst that can happen? I like it." So sure enough, once I joined ROTC, the instructors took an immediate interest in me, and the rest was history from there. And I almost immediately, I fell in love with drill. And I felt like it was something where I was an equal, and it was something where I felt I was comfortable enough to grow into, because baseball was just being able to grow into something to where everybody at the exact same time was learning this at the exact same time you were, was something completely different for me. And that's kind of where it all started, right? It started as this unknown, and you eventually grew into this thing with all your other peers around you. And I like to think drill as almost something similar to the Marine Corps. And don't think of it like, oh, drill, Marine Corps, like they're on the same spectrum. In the Marine Corps, there's only two kinds of people that join the Marine Corps. There's the people that really love it, and then there's the people that really hate it. And there's only those two. There's no happy medium. I remember when I was in, I loved it. I got to go all over the world, 2 combat tours, 16 different countries. I got to meet great friends. I got to meet great people. I got to work with different countries. And it was just this aura of network and this community. And there's nothing else like it out there in this world. And that's where I'm kind of saying it's similar in drill. When you do it, you either really like it or you sort of kind of, it's just something to do at after school. Cause for me, it was something more than just, obviously it was something more than just a hobby or an after school activity. It was something I wanted to grow, something I wanted to get better, something that fascinated me because I saw my commander, I saw my older classmen and they were doing these moves where I was like, oh, like I want to do that. And I'm over here struggling to do a port spin. And these guys are doing X and I'm on the side learning it on my own on the side as they're going through it because their focus was competing, not training me. And it was my job to learn from the side just in case to be a backup because our numbers at the time were very limited. So the only teacher we had was me and the other 3 guys that were with me training up for that same year or potentially the next year, which thankfully I was able to start that next year. And tonight, we're exploring that journey, how drill pulls people in, why they stay, the lessons it teaches, and the challenges that shapes them into the people they become today. So to start, let's go back to the beginning. How did you get involved in drill and what made you stay? Well, I can think of no better place to begin. I would introduce my guest, but I don't want to do him an injustice. So I'm going to let him introduce himself. Man, the myth, the legend, the Sultan of SWAT, the king of crash himself. My good sir, can you please take the floor and let the people know who you are?
Hey, thank you so much, Edward, for having me on. My name is Matt Wendling. I appreciate the introduction. Depending on when you came into drill and when you kind of participated in the drill team activity, you might know me for any number of reasons. Presently a lot of work with the junior ROTC drill team front. In a past life as a younger man, doing the solo exhibition thing through college and slightly thereafter. And so I'm thrilled to be on here. I'm thrilled with what you're doing with this platform, and I'm excited to share anything that might be helpful for your listeners.
I am more than
there.
excited to have you here. It is great to have somebody with your kind of resume because not everybody gets to know what these pro drillers do. And other than drill, right? What does Matt Wendling do when it's not drill? What does that day-to-day look like?
Goodness. Well, obviously, we travel quite a bit for the job, and that is largely drill team. But when we're not focused on working with the students, we have 5 cats and 2 dogs, and being on the road with them is a whole lot of fun. The primary thing I think that we've been very blessed to do all over the country. We do a lot of hiking, a lot of getting outside, a lot of getting outdoors. We're not, crazy through hikers, multi-day backpack, kind of stuff, but getting outside with the dogs and getting some exercise. We've been visiting the national parks lately. We're almost all the way through all the continental U.S. national parks, which has been an awesome adventure. I mean, it just so happens that much of our travel just kind of takes us by those places. So when we're stopping off or when we're in between functions, getting to get out and hike in some of the most beautiful places the country has to offer, that's probably the big pastime for us.
I know some national parks have like their high peaks or like the highest points in like the state or anything like that. Has there ever been the highest peak you've reached, or what's maybe the most beautiful place that you've been to?
Oh, man, it's so hard because there's so many that are so beautiful for so many different reasons. You want to talk about peaks and mountains and that kind of stuff. Volcanoes, not continental U.S., but Volcanoes National Park on the Big Island of Hawaii. Amazing experience. We got to do Mount Rainier and hike around that area last summer. That was as gorgeous as the pictures and everything make it out to be. We got to, I don't know how familiar you are with the various kind of iconic, hiking routes or trails in these places. A couple years back, we got to do Angel's Landing in Zion National Park, get all the way up on top and kind of see the whole park from however many feet up. Was a pretty amazing experience. So yeah, we've definitely been very blessed to see some amazing stuff out there.
That is so awesome.
Sure.
The last time I'd probably done any kind of hike was 2012 to 2016 was the era because I was in the military at the time and we would do hikes.
A lot of hiking.
A lot of hiking, right. And
probably have a different nature, right?
Right. Yeah. Let's just say hiking and me do not mix well anymore. So
that is fair. That is very fair.
I think the longest hike I'll take is the one where I'll park and I'll walk to the inside of an HEB because
Yep, there you
Yeah,
go.
because I'm not a hiker, but I see all the videos on TikTok where it's like guys going up Mount Fuji and they have like the walking sticks that if there is any
Yep,
like
yep.
if there is any like grand hurrah of something where it's like, oh, you know what, like that's something that I'm gonna do once in my life, it'll probably be that. Whether that's in the near future or later in the future, but that may be the one I'll probably cross sometime somewhere.
Well, I totally, yeah, I'm sure that you got that the hiking bug out of your system plenty, being in the military.
Brother, you have no idea. But like I said, it's super awesome having you here. And I'm sure that anybody who's listening wants to know just more on your drill history, right? So if you had to say, how did you get involved into drill at first? And when you first got involved and you found that love, how did it make you want to stay in it?
Goodness. Okay. So, you mentioned in your first episode about maybe dating yourself, and this is definitely gonna date me here. When I got into high school, I had kind of a perfect storm background for this. So people may not know, but I'm adopted from South Korea. And so my parents were big on getting me into cultural things, connecting with that part of me.
Okay.
And so I was doing martial arts. I did taekwondo all the way through elementary into middle school, junior high time frame, and progressed all the way through that until other things kind of made it so I could not continue to do that. When I was a kid, got into things like I was really into yo-yoing when that was a giant craze nationwide
Oh
as
yeah.
as like a middle school kiddo. Uh, Obviously, hand-eye coordination also, and then primarily, and I think the thing that I did more than even drill all the way through college and that shaped a lot of who I am was involved heavily in my school's music programs. So going into high school, I was a band kid. I think that's how I would have identified. And I didn't I enrolled in junior ROTC after I called a bunch of friends and confirmed that enough of them were going to do that instead of gym. And I really didn't want to swim. I've never been a strong swimmer. I didn't want to go through that whole ordeal. As an incoming freshman, that seemed like the worst possible option for me. And so it was really like, okay, I'll take this weird military class because I'll get out of gym class and I won't have to deal with changing or swimming or anything like
Of
that.
course.
So I go through the entire first semester, and I don't think, obviously, we did drill. I was an Air Force Junior RTC program in the southwest suburbs of the Chicagoland area. And of course, we did drill every whatever Thursday. I don't recall having any awareness of the drill team my entire, basically, I don't know, call it 3/4 of the school year, my freshman year. I think they may have performed at a pep rally, but because I was in the band, I was kind of preoccupied, doing that. And, most of the students, my wife will tell this amazing story about how she saw the high school drill team. And when they stopped, they were breathing like one person. And our other co-owner operator, literally moved across the country to come to Texas to do drill team when her family had gotten wind of it and came down to Texas on a road trip to see it. Ended up moving across. And that's like, those are very inspiring stories. And my story is not. Two of my friends, who are both girls, were like, hey, Matt, we're going to drill team tryouts. You're coming with us. And I'm a 13-year-old kid and two girls ask you to do anything. I'm like, yep, I'm there with you. So I literally stumbled into it. I had no idea what it was supposed to be or what the point of it even was. I just happened to show up because somebody asked me to go with. I think thankfully for me, because I had that martial arts background and because I had a little bit of that hand-eye coordination and because of the marching band, music thing that I was already doing, drill came pretty naturally to me. I kind of had an affinity for it very early on and found it really enjoyable. Kind of got a chance to put all the different facets of my personality to good use and really make good use of the experiences and the abilities that I had had previously. So the moment that I kind of was like, I came out to tryouts and I was hooked. I really enjoyed it from the get-go. I enjoyed the challenge of it and I enjoyed the process of it, but it was never something I would have opted into myself. It was never something I would have chosen of my own free will. I kind of accidentally fell in love with it, if that makes
It
sense.
almost seems like kind of the discipline and all the techniques that you could have learned from your martial arts training that it kind of bled over into World of
It
Drill
did.
too.
Very much so. I mean, if you really think about Armed Exhibition gets everyone kind of hooked on initially, and that's what kind of grabbed me right away was the exhibition part of it. It's like yo-yoing and martial arts put together with marching band, and it's pretty much exactly that. So I think it was kind of a perfect storm of
Right.
all those past
Right. It sounds
experiences.
like just the perfect blend of El Nino, that everything was happening that just kind of that blew across your way, and you were like, you know what? Yo-yo, martial arts, this makes sense. Let's do this.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So I wish I had, my wife's inspiring story or, our co-owner's inspiring. No, I have a goofy story. And I think that's great because not everyone's going to find drill team the same way. Most people aren't going to know what it is before they're physically participating in it. And so I think it was good for me because it took me outside of my comfort zone. I never would have chosen it for myself.
Right. For example, I have a student on the team that I'm coaching now, and he's going to be a sophomore, but going into his freshman year, he said he knew what ROTC was, but he had no idea what was involved in it. And thankfully, the two instructors are very proactive, so they post stuff on Facebook and everything there. And he found the videos from the drill team, and he was pretty much like, I don't care what else they
I'm
do,
going to do that
I
thing.
want to do that.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
right. It's like, what's that thing that I want with that? And I want to spin that thing. So these guys find it in these interesting ways. And I'm sure, as quote unquote as unromantic as your story may be, I mean, I'm sure there are Lord knows how many guys who just fell into the same
Absolutely.
situation, almost similar. And what are maybe some of the moments that you realized that drill was more than just extracurricular? Like what made you join this thing and say, "Man, like this is awesome and let's keep turning this up." Like when did that moment happen, and what was kind of the revelation that was going through your head
Yeah, so
when you
I can
discovered
remember
that?
this very, very clearly. I got on the drill team. I passed tryouts. At the time at my school, it was supposed to be that unarmed was kind of the feeder for armed, and the expectation was you sort of went to the unarmed team for a year, did the first year cadet team, if you had not done it before, and then after that you could try out for the armed drill team, kind of shift your way up, kind of old school that way. Because I gravitated toward it so quickly, I kind of got put on the armed team right away. I was very fortunate, I think, to have some really good upperclassmen. In fact, one of my upperclassmen, literally several weeks ago, just retired from 20 plus years in the Air Force, MTI, all kinds of stuff. And I had some really phenomenal people on the team. And that was initially what kind of spurred me on or motivated me or made me enjoy coming to practice. For us, drill was a second, it's not like it wasn't. We were competitive in the local area, but in the Midwest. It's largely, and even with the competitive schools, it's largely considered to be a second semester activity. You start to spin it up in the late fall. You really compete in the spring. And I remember when the year was winding down from that first year, that my commander at the time, getting ready to graduate, and he gives me, and again, talking about dating yourself, he gives me a VHS tape, and it's the Sports Network International Best of Drill, Exhibition Drill 2002. And so we're talking McHugh McCoy. We're talking Isaac Johnson Carter from when he was at Campbell High School before he went to YNI. We're talking that was the heyday of Northeast ISD, right? Churchill was still in the mix. And I put in
Hmm.
this tape, and I'm like, these guys must be using the light rifles just like us. And then, holy crap, turns out no, they're using demilitarized Springfields at the time. And I must have wore the film out of that tape. From the moment that I saw some of that stuff, it's like when you realize what's possible and you see it and you're like, well, could I get out in the backyard? And of course, YouTube wasn't a thing. The internet wasn't a thing. So you put the DVD or not even the DVD, you put the VHS in, you watch it, you run outside your backyard, you try it, you run back in, and you go back and forth and back and forth.
It's funny you brought up the VHSs, right? I had a copy of one too. I don't remember which year it was, but I remember watching the VHS, doing the same thing. And I didn't have a computer at the time, but I'd go over to my best friend's place and we would be on YouTube and we'd watch a video and we're like, okay, hold on, like how do they do that? Then just
Yup, yup.
back and forth. And it was, it was such a young time in drill in the moment, because the only way you really knew about it was, like you said, you either had VHS or you had these, or maybe YouTube was the thing, and you had to just kind of just use that imagination of yours and really just see what worked and see what didn't. So it's awesome that you bring that up, because I'll talk like that to my best friend now, and we will laugh and joke about it, and we're like, man, I wonder how many other kids are out there doing
Simpler
that same
times,
thing.
right? Simpler time. I feel very fortunate to have come up in the activity when I did, right at the precipice of the internet, and social media. But before that was really, it
Hmm.
was Facebook still required a college email address to sign up for it, at the time that I was getting out of high school. So I really feel very blessed to have gotten access to a lot of the things. But also the work and the filling in the gaps yourself, I think was kind of an invaluable experience for me at such a young age. I think it was good to have to put my brain to work and figure out, reverse engineer. You see someone do something, now you got to figure out how to reverse engineer that, and you wind up coming up with some crazy. You mentioned the two rifle juggling thing from 2009, and it's so funny because that was a mistake, and that was a mistake because the video that we saw someone doing it was just a two-handed fire knife. They were just holding on to both rifles. The video quality was so bad that our friend went in and he's like, I think he's juggling them, and went and figured out how to do that and showed us. And that move was created entirely just because the media available was whatever terrible quality at the time.
Right. It was 240
Yep,
240p
and you're like trying to
quality.
figure out what those 4 pixels are doing and how to make that happen. And there are so many stories about movements that are just accidental, like inventions based on trying to do exactly what you described, which is hang out with your friends, watch a video, figure it out, kind of a thing. It was simpler times, but I do feel very fortunate to have experienced drill team at that juncture in time.
It was such a pivotal point. Like, I mean, like we talked prior to this for me, because I remember 2009, I was there in the bleachers, and I have pictures of your solo on my
My
Facebook. I'll have to
goodness.
post them out
Yeah, we'll
here.
have to connect over
Yeah,
there
and
and and see that. That's wild.
yes, and it's just you just freaking doing the eclipse. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's breaking the fourth wall. It was crazy world drill because back then it was just once everything was done, they put you guys solely out there in the middle of the stadium, and everybody had no choice but to either take a seat or to get up close and watch it within arm's length, and just the emotions. And it literally felt like we were in some kind of NBA stadium in an arena. And it was so awesome at the time and beautiful
Crazy.
moments. What are some of the biggest lessons that drills taught you and that you still use till this day?
Yeah, of that question because there's probably some different layers to it. I feel very blessed because as life has evolved and seasons of life have changed, I think it's important that anyone doing drill listening to this that's doing drill right now, whether they're in high school or maybe recently graduated, they're doing the post high school thing, is like this isn't going to be, and it shouldn't be, anyone's life. I feel very fortunate that I've managed to find a way to fit this into the season of life that I'm in. And maybe not in reverse. I'm not, I haven't tried to fit my season of life to keep drill around. And so I think from the early years, the early times coming up through high school and even through college, you talk about 2009 being such a formative time. And I look back and I'm like, I was just a kid, man. I didn't know. I didn't have, I didn't, I didn't have the perspective or didn't have the, it's all right up in front of your face. You don't really think about what you're doing and the broader impact of it and that sort of thing. But out of those times, I feel like one of the biggest lessons that I learned or that was shared with me through the activity is kind of this tenaciousness that you can accomplish what you want to accomplish. Drill is unique, and we tell the students the reason why you should do drill team, and it's a great thing, is because if you're a sports player, if you're a musician, if you're an actor, if you're an artist, when you graduate high school, you will probably not be the best in the world at that thing, right? There's going to be collegiate level, pro level stuff that's out there that's going to be at a higher level for you. Because drill is so niche, and this is kind of the premise of your podcast, because drill is so niche and because it's a skill that you can attain early on and take to a high level. One of the things that I think I learned was the tenaciousness and the confidence that if you desire something and you're passionate for it and you work at it, it's not ever something that's out of your reach. That you can reach up and go to that level. And I think it's very encouraging. Now, I think that comes with a downside, which is that when you allow youngsters to be able to ascend to that high height within their activity, I think if there were a lot of people who probably knew me in a past life who would say I was pretty arrogant or I was pretty full of myself or very self-centered. And I think that's kind of the balancing act to that. But I think I learned very early on the kind of tenacity and the kind of like confidence in yourself that if you put your mind to something and you work at it, that you can see the result of it. And then, as things have evolved and we've transitioned out of, performing drill, as a soloist or whatever it might be, and transitioned into more of the drill team realm. I think the thing that really taught me how to do better was organized and systematic in that fashion to correlate that inputs relate to outputs. And if you're not happy with the output, then we have to go back and look at something that's happening on the front side that's creating that output. Even now, in the way that we're involved in it, is so much about figuring out how to adjust variables and how to control what's in your control and let go of what's not in your control. And really, I think if you do the drill team thing well, it can teach you how to approach any problem that you're facing or any challenge that you're facing, and give you the steps to work your way through that. And I really feel like, in a lot of ways, drill focused me. I was kind of a squirrely, undiagnosed, neurodivergent kid coming up in high school. And in a lot of ways, drill focused me through my young adult life and gave me the structure and the foundation. So I think there's a lot of different lessons that transcend all the different seasons of life that I've been fortunate enough to kind of be involved with the activity. They've all given me something a little bit different.
I don't think that could have been said any more beautifully, because it teaches you how to tame that inner beast in you and that competitor. I have a boy on the team. He did a solo for his first time at nationals on that platform, and he's by far eons beyond whatever I was in high school. And I think he can compete. If he were to compete in worlds today, I think he could definitely give some of these guys a run for their money. But he's starting to understand and learn these same lessons too. And throughout the couple years I've been coaching him, and I'm just like, hey, like, don't forget this, don't forget that. And now it's kind of coming to fruition, because now as he's a senior this year, and he's now having to bear the stressors and the responsibilities of being that commander for a team, manage his solo and everything else.
Great point. Tell the students all the time when we're working with them that another reason why drill team is amazing is the 1-for-1 correlation with building relationships and rapport, with teaching a skill to people who probably don't have any semblance of that skill as they come in. Not many people come in from, unless you're in a highly specific situation, like you had a middle school program, you're not coming in having those skills. And I tell the students all the time is like, listen, if you really stop and think about this, in the time that you're in high school, as you're working your way up and getting into those leadership positions, the ability to teach and to lead and to guide and shape an organization like your drill team, you're probably not going to get that for, call it 3 to 5 years at best. And no matter which route you go, if you head into the military, you're going to have to work your way through those junior enlisted ranks before you're in that same kind of position, to affect that change. If you go into the working world, you got to go through your apprenticeship. You got to work your way through that. Even if you go to college, you might spend another 2 to 3 years getting into a leadership position in a student organization in college. And so what an amazing opportunity to have that real world ability to learn to teach and to learn to love, to help people and to support people. One of those skills, one of those hard skills that will set you apart no matter what you decide to do. To hear your rising senior be like, hey, yeah, I think I'm starting to get, is like, that's the moment we want those students to go to, where they realize it's not quite just about what they're capable of doing, but the impact that they can have on the people around them, even at a young age.
Right, exactly. And how all this stuff is developing, and just seeing all these kids grow up and develop. And I remember just like having like him, especially, he's one of those undiagnosed dudes, right? And just being like my brother in Christ, please, like I'm begging you, like just bear with me here. I don't want to mess everybody up. Okay. And I'm gonna stop right there. Everybody, if you only knew how much Matt and I were discussing over this session, we had about an hour and a half of just talking and bantering and just getting to know each other. And it was info. I couldn't all put it all in one video. So everybody, I hope no one's disappointed that we all didn't get more from the legend Matt Wendling himself. But I guarantee you, on the next week's episode, I'm gonna have so much more on it, much more in depth. Matt Wendling goes into so much more detail on his legends and his drill experience. I mean, just to cover over everything that we learned today. I mean, who would have ever figured that yo-yoing, martial arts, and band was a route to drill team? I mean, sure, I did band, not marching, did baseball, not yo-yoing. It's like I said, it's so wild how all that came together. And kind of like we mentioned, everybody finds it in different ways. He followed in the footsteps of 2 of his friends and into finding ROTC, and he accidentally fell in love with it. There are so many things about this. all of us can kind of relate, because when we all did this thing, it was kind of, yeah, cool. Let's get out of PE, or, I don't want to do an extracurricular that requires me to run. So yeah, sure. Let me do this. And you find the extracurricular inside ROTC and you fall in love with drill, wanting to stay in and continue to keep it on, right? I mean, just having an environment itself is what made Matt continue his journey. Having his upperclassmen be able to build that environment for him to be like, you know what? This is awesome. I'm going to continue to stay. On top of that, to continue to build his craft before YouTube, before DVDs, VHSs, people. If you don't know what a VHS is, go look at it. If you don't know that drill, the Nationals, SNI, that they have VHS tapes or they have DVDs of the Nationals, they have. I don't know if they still do it anymore, but it's a thing. And on top of that, people, the legendary move itself, the Eclipse, was a mistake. when he told me that, and I think it took me till now to honestly understand the impact of that it took on me, because you're going to tell me you just so happened to be like, oh, this is kind of cool. Let's just see if we can fling this thing around. And then he does it. The kind of talent it takes to do that, the kind of eye you need to make this stuff happen. If you don't know what the Eclipse is, check it out. I'm pretty confident it's on the Drill Dojo. And some of the biggest lessons he learned is that, ROTC isn't forever. Drill isn't forever. He said drill teaches you how to be focused, disciplined, build your relationships and your rapport, and it's going to make you an overall better human being. Everybody, I'm so excited that you're here listening in on this awesome interview. I hope you look forward to it more, and let me go ahead and close this thing out for you all. Most people never understand what it takes. The hours, sacrifices, the bruises, the failures, all for a few moments on a competition floor. This is a world where perfection isn't expected, it's demanded. A world of intense formations, razor-sharp movements, and thrilling tosses that leaves crowds speechless. What's the difference between a winner and a champion? Do you remember? A winner practices until they can get it right, but a champion practices until they can't get it wrong. Yet despite the talent, yet despite the dedication, the passion, drill still remains one of the most overlooked competitive activities in the nation. Everybody, that changes here. This is where the stories are told. This is where the legends are remembered. This is where the future of drill is built. Everybody, I'm Edward Andrade, and I'm so excited. Welcome to the Drill Pad, the voice of the drill community at the home of champions. Everybody, thank you again for listening in. I hope you can tune in next week for the second part of Matt Wendling's Legendary's Tale. If you have any questions, comments, if you have curiosities about how a routine should look, or maybe you don't know what your next steps should be into developing your team, shoot me an email. I'll be more than happy to ask the next guy. th3drillpad th3drillpad@gmail.com. If not, I'm always on Instagram trying to post. Ladies and gentlemen, like, comment, share, subscribe, put this thing out there. Everybody, take care. I appreciate your time. You're all dismissed. Have a good day.